Welcome, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well today. Over the past couple videos that we've put out there, I've really done a lot of focus on tax and financial type information in the Prosperity Society. And we just want to let you know that the vision for the Prosperity Society is much bigger than just tax and financial type stuff. And we're going to kind of expound upon that today. I've kind of got joining me here today Brian Brown, and he's going to be somebody that contributes to the Prosperity Society. So why don't you give the group a little introduction of yourself, and then maybe we'll just kind of build out some of our vision for the Prosperity Society and how you're going to contribute.
Yeah, so I mean, going back all the way going back to California days, like living the California dream in high school, or do we just want kind of just the professional version?
You could get back to
Okay.
to where you're from. Everybody
Yeah,
kind of came from
people like to
somewhere.
hear
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, growing up, lived out in the high desert of California, so there, lived under a stay-at-home mom and a working class dad and 40-year electrician, union electrician. So, learned hard work early on in life. And, from there, I think it was up to me to kind of build out my own professional path, right? My father and mother were heavy on education and growing into a productive member of society. So I took with that, ran with that. I did a few things. Obviously, I went to college, did college for a year. Then I jumped into a religious service mission for 2 years in Chicago. Challenged myself through by invitation, obligation at some level, to learn Spanish. That was a growing experience. Returning back from that, leadership and just I think career opportunities were pretty open for me. I got to kind of choose what I wanted to do with that. Explored a lot of different things in my formal education, the university. It was always business related, right? I mean, I thought I was going to do accounting at one level. I thought I was going to do IT. And it's funny, over the last 15 years of my career after that has been both. Probably not an expert in either one of them, but a generalist. An expert generalist is probably what people would call me at some level. But the career path has been fun because I got to start out in sales, door-to-door sales, grew that into a more of a management service sales from an IT perspective, so helping small business owners to really zero in on what their problems were, and help build that out, whether it was actual equipment or strategy or operations. Grew that and flowed that into a job where I got to coach business owners, everyone from a small business owner who started up their day one of their business and what they needed for their IT infrastructure, all the way up to enterprise billion-dollar companies that were spread out all over the globe, and we traveled to their offices and help them to understand what their IT plan needed to be and some of the infrastructure and the strategies that they needed there. And then most recently, I've inherited a position where I get to assist in partnerships, right? And so it's a little bit more dynamic from not just one business owner, but it's really kind of that B2B sales to dive in and say, hey, what is it that we can do from our technology perspective? I work for a large enterprise, publicly traded company now who has these technology partnerships, and they're trying to figure out, what is it that we need to do in our alignment to make it to where your customers can grow on our platform. And so that's had its own fun challenges, and all those experiences together, I think, have brought me a unique, perspective on what it means to dive into the world of partnerships, sales, operations.
Cool. No, that's a great introduction. Brian and I were both from blue collar families, and so there is a sense of hustle that both of us kind of share and have in common. And I've known Brian for a long time, and we'll kind of expound upon how we know each other later. But when you have that mindset, that hustle mindset, and you want a little bit more for yourself, it really kind of permeates into what you do if you implement it. And so I kind of wanted to just maybe kind of give the audience and give them perspective on maybe some of those things that you've learned over your career, or maybe it's through your church mission, or even growing up. Maybe as far as maybe some of the types of contribution that you'll make to the Prosperity Society, if I asked you, what are you going to give to the group that is going to just help them prosper in their lives? What would be maybe the top couple things that you think you'll be able to add?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the way the invitation really came about was because of a word I would zero in on would be perspective. You know, maybe it's a buzzword, maybe it's overused, but I like the word because I think when you look at whether you're being a business owner or you're a high contributing professional or, you know, even a young professional who's just starting out or a blue collar worker, right? Having perspective and what it means to contribute in your roles. I've had great mentors throughout my life.
Yeah.
I continue to have great mentors. I don't think you should ever like grow out of a mentorship, at least maybe in the sense of might have to shift who your mentors are. But I always feel like I'm looking up to someone who's educating me on what it means to be, you know, a great contributing member of society and also your profession. But yeah, that perspective is, I think I have I feel like people have told me I have a way of being able to see things for what they are and what they aren't, and to put words to those. So some of that's been in writing, right? I started up on LinkedIn a couple of years ago of just really starting to share my voice, which was a little intimidating, to be completely honest. Like I wasn't going into it saying like, oh, I have all this to share.
Yeah.
But as that's developed and I've, you know, kind of honed in on, you know, what it is that makes, you know, somebody an excellent individual, an excellent person. I just see things and I can voice them, and so it might be from my own personal experience sometimes, and then other times it's just in a discussion. I mean, you and I have had lots of fun discussions where we kind of dive into like, hey, here's something I'm seeing, and it might start out, with a kid and talking about that and saying, hey, this is what we could draw out to learn about our professional lives through an experience with our kids, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Right. Something with the professional world where you're in some project, diving into some deliverable, and you're like, oh, this is what would make me a better father.
Yeah, it does seem like every time we do get together and start talking about stuff, we do feel like, man, we should have recorded a podcast about that, just because, you know, there's all these insights that kind of come back from just sharing information and, you know, maybe talking through some struggles, maybe it is, or talking through different experiences that we've had to maybe get through a certain situation, and in the end we always feel like we know other people could totally relate with this.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's part of us really wanting to just kind of get on camera a little bit more and just kind of talk, because we know that the experiences that we're having and that we've had either growing up or, you know, having children and different things like that, these are all types of experiences that you're experiencing in the business world, just like we are. Yeah. And so that's something that I think from a collaborative approach,
it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Well,
yeah,
and
sure.
I was at a conference. I spoke earlier this week, and the woman that introduced me said it. I wasn't prepared for what she was going to say, but I feel like she summarized it really well. She said, "Hey, if you're not listening to what Brian has to say, you're missing out, because he crosses the personal and the professional divide and makes sense of both of them."
Yeah. You do have a good perspective I'm glad that you mentioned that as one of the things that you wanted to contribute to the Prosperity Society, was that you wanted to just add perspective, because that's something that a lot of people don't have. When we've talked through different decisions that people that we know have made, they're never consulting with other people. They're never pitching their ideas to other people and saying like, hey, that's just not going to work, or, you know, maybe you should consider these types of things. Yeah. We know that there's so many people out there who maybe don't really feel like they have a person that they can be like, hey, I'm gonna go bounce off getting a new car with somebody and just see what they think about it. Yeah. There's just so many people that just go and do it.
It's a mix of skills, right? Because you take business owners whom we both work a lot with, right? And they come up from all varied backgrounds, just like you and I do, and they need perspective, right? And so that's what I love to do, is from my role professionally is, and even, you know, in the community and personally with people that I know, is just I just have a way to be able to draw out the questions, or to be able to draw out the observations that I think we all benefit from. And it's not like I've done it all, or that I've had the perfect answers. It's just simply like there's a skill set there to say exactly that. Like, okay, what are some things you should be thinking about? What are some things that we could draw out of this? What are some things we should learn from this?
And you make a good point. There is a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Definitely.
I mean, we have a lot of life
100%.
to go through.
We're going to be making videos as we're learning it, too.
Correct.
So.
And you mentioned having mentors. I have mentors. You have mentors. We mentor each other from time to time. And that really is kind of a key aspect of growth, is just having people who maybe are a little bit ahead of you in the game and can help you along the path. And so that's kind of when we build the vision of what the Prosperity Society is. And I mean, in the beginning for me, I was just like, I just want a platform where I could, put a bunch of videos up and my clients can go to the videos and watch the videos so that they don't ask me the same questions every single time. But then as we kind of built that out, we thought the Prosperity Society could be so much more than just a tax type of thing, because there's so many more elements to life that really are what drive prosperity. It's not just your tax situation or your business, but it really is kind of some of this other stuff, life type skills. It's your partnerships that you have in business. It's your relationship. It's networking in general. And he did bring up kind of his LinkedIn profile. We are big fans of LinkedIn, and Brian has a great LinkedIn profile and a following. And so, if you're watching this, we really would encourage you guys to add both of us to LinkedIn, because that's a platform that we feel is really underutilized as far as information and just professionalism goes.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn on that platform.
Well, and it's so dynamic for you and I think we've seen where it's the idea of we're contributors as much as we are consumers.
Yeah.
Right. And that's I think the next level up for the professionals out there that are going to be watching these videos that we'll talk a lot about is how do you move from just consuming good content to producing good content? And it might not be videos like this, but it might be just something you're doing in your career or jumping on LinkedIn and jumping into share your voice, share the conversation. Because I think that is where the power of that network really is too many people just update their virtual digital resume and they don't get the value that they could either give or receive.
Yeah, and sometimes giving at the time might think I'm just pushing all of that out there, but I've seen over and over where it totally comes back to you in a big way.
Yeah,
through a referral. It like so many times where I've just answered people's questions, didn't bill them anything for answering the questions, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, hey, my friend has a business that they need some tax help with or something."
Yeah,
we'll be big proponents of if you want to call it karma, you could call it karma, or just giving. Because every time you give, it always comes back.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a pretty good perspective on kind of a little bit about your background, a little bit about where you are. I will say, I'm always jealous of Brian's job because he takes people golfing all the time, and he's doing all his fun stuff like snowmobiling and different things like that. And every once in a while, I'll get the invite.
I'm gonna get in trouble
to be part of that, but. It goes along with those partnerships and developing relationships and all that kind of stuff that I, just to answer myself, I think that's one of the great things that you are going to add is just how to build really meaningful relationships. And, maybe just for the benefit of the group here, how long you been married?
Almost 12 years.
12, okay, almost 12, good. Yeah, that's a good solid number. And then
good marriage too, I hope.
Yeah. And then tell us about your kid.
I got one kid. She's running around. She's almost a decade old, right? So she's almost hitting double digits. She's raising us as much as we're raising her, we say. So
yeah,
we're the odd couple out on our street in Utah, but that's okay. There's people all over the world that have one kid or less, right?
So we got a good family man here. We got somebody that is a blue collar. In the professional world, you'll always hear the cream rises, and he's done well with that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited about where this could go, and the types of things that he's gonna put out there for you. Another thing that we've talked about is just doing a podcast together. So doing a podcast together is also on kind of the goal list and something that we're going to be adding. So I guess what you're going to kind of see is you're going to see some stuff that I'm just doing when it comes to financial and tax type stuff. Then Brian's going to kind of come in with some of the things that we've talked about today, and then we'll probably just do some kind of joint type podcast that might be a little bit more laid back and a little bit more fun. But we think you're going to enjoy all this type of stuff, and think that we really have kind of a platform here that is going to add value to people. So appreciate the time today. I mean, we kind of covered some bases here. Anything else we need to add?
Let's get into it.
All right, we'll get into it for you guys and start getting you guys some more stuff. Thanks so much.